You're somewhere between 20 and 24. You have some income coming in, maybe from a job, maybe a side thing, maybe both, and you're doing okay in the sense that you're surviving. Bills are getting paid, more or less. You're not in a crisis, but there's this low-level awareness sitting in the back of your mind that you're not really doing anything with money yet, like you're just letting it move through you rather than building anything with it. And the weird thing is, you know you should probably be doing something, you just don't know what that something actually is or where to start without it feeling overwhelming. That feeling, honestly, is the most important financial feeling you can have in your early 20s. My name is Threk, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, personal finance, and the specific decisions that separate people who enter their 30s with real financial traction from people who look back at their early 20s wishing they'd started a few things sooner. And the reason I made this video is that the early 20s are genuinely the most underutilized financial window most people have. Not because you have the most money then, you definitely don't, but because the decisions you make before 25 have more long-term leverage than almost anything you'll do financially for the rest of your life. By the end of this, you'll have 4 specific milestones to aim for. Not arbitrary checkboxes, but actual structural foundations that change what your financial life looks like at 30, at 40, at retirement. These aren't things that require a high salary or perfect discipline. They require understanding why they matter, which is what nobody usually explains. Milestone 1 is knowing your actual numbers. And I know that sounds basic, almost insultingly simple, but stay with me for a second. Most people in their early 20s have a vague sense of their finances. They know roughly what comes in, they have a general feeling about what goes out, but they've never actually sat down and mapped the full picture. Income, fixed expenses, variable spending, debt, if any, and what's left. And the reason this matters so much as a milestone before 25 isn't because tracking numbers is inherently exciting. It's because you cannot make good financial decisions about something you've never clearly looked at. Every other milestone on this list becomes dramatically easier once you have this foundation. You'll discover subscriptions you forgot existed, you'll see spending categories that surprise you, and you'll find the actual gap between what comes in and what goes out, because that gap is the raw material of every financial goal you have. The actionable part here is simple. One afternoon, one spreadsheet or app, full picture in one place. Not a budget you have to maintain perfectly forever, just a clear current snapshot. That's the milestone. Milestone 2 is your first real emergency fund. Not a goal, not a plan to save, an actual 3 months buffer sitting in a separate account that you've decided in advance you will not touch for regular expenses. This is the milestone that transforms your relationship with financial risk, because before you have it, every unexpected expense is a crisis. Car repair, medical bill, job disruption. Without a buffer, each of these derails everything else you're trying to build. With it, they become inconveniences rather than emergencies. And here's the thing I want you to hear clearly. You don't need 3 months' worth of expenses saved immediately. You need to start building it before 25 so that it exists by the time life gets genuinely complicated in your late 20s, because it will. The way I think about this is that the emergency fund isn't money you're keeping from yourself. It's money you're lending to your future self for the moments they need it most. Start with $100 in a separate account, then make it $200. The number isn't the point at first. The habit and the account existing separately are the point. Milestone 3, and this is the one that makes the most dramatic mathematical difference over time, is making your first investment before you turn 25. Not a large investment, not a perfectly researched portfolio, just the act of putting money into something that grows over time, rather than sitting in a checking account earning essentially nothing. A low-cost index fund, a retirement account if your employer offers one, something. The reason this matters so intensely before 25 is purely mathematical, and we've talked about compounding on this channel before, but the short version is this. Money invested at 22 has 40 or more years to grow. Money invested at 32 has 30 years. That 10-year difference, because of how compounding works, can mean the difference between a comfortable retirement and a genuinely transformed one, from the same amount of money just invested earlier. I talk to a lot of people in their late 20s and early 30s who feel behind on investing and wish someone had told them before 25 that the amount doesn't matter as much as the starting date. So consider this that conversation. Start before 25. Even small, even imperfect, just start. Milestone 4 is understanding debt before it understands you. By this, I mean specifically developing a clear, conscious relationship with debt, knowing the difference between debt that works for you and debt that works against you, and having a plan for any debt you currently carry, rather than just making minimum payments and hoping for the best. Student loans, credit cards, personal loans, these all have interest rates, and those interest rates are either low enough that you can manage them strategically while investing the rest, or high enough that paying them down aggressively is the best return on investment you can get. Most people in their early 20s have a vague anxiety about their debt, but haven't actually confronted the specific numbers, how much is owed, at what rate, and what the real monthly cost of carrying it is. The milestone isn't being debt-free before 25. That's not realistic for most people. The milestone is having a clear, intentional plan, rather than just letting debt run passively in the background. Because debt without a plan tends to compound too, just in the wrong direction. Here's the thing I want to leave you with. None of these 4 milestones require a high income, a financial background, or a moment of complete discipline and transformation. They require 4 specific decisions made with enough clarity and intention that they actually happen. Know your numbers, build the buffer, make the first investment, confront the debt consciously. These 4 things, done before you're 25, set up everything that comes after in a way that's genuinely hard to replicate if you wait until your 30s. Not impossible, but harder and with less time working in your favor. Your early 20s are noisier than any other financial period. There's more change, more uncertainty, more competing priorities, moving, figuring out careers, navigating relationships, trying to enjoy being young. And all of that is real and valid and worth doing. But underneath all of it, these 4 foundations can be built quietly, incrementally, without your early 20s becoming about nothing but money. You have time, but the time that you have right now is the most valuable it will ever be in financial terms. Use a little of it deliberately. That's enough to change the trajectory of everything that comes after.